The JJK movie is literally coming out this Friday, which of course I am seeing on the premiere, and here is how you make Sukuna's Kamutoke out of, well, mainly cardboard. So this is actually pretty easy to make. It is on the more fragile side, but if you're planning on doing a Sukuna cosplay, maybe you need this. First off, we're going to do our sketch. I'm using just a piece of regular sheet paper, so printer paper, to go and do this, and I'm finding the midpoint and pretty much going from there. I'm sketching out one side, and I do have the measurements that are going to come up in a little bit, so don't worry about following this through. I don't show me sketching the entire thing. Now, when I created this one side, I was kind of thinking, could I do both sides or just do one? And figured it would probably just be easiest if I sketched out one side, took the paper after, folded it both ways, so folded it over first where I had it on the non-sketch side, then folded it one more time on the sketch side, and because of course pencils are made of graphite, they transfer pretty easily, so I just folded it back, used a back end of a pair of scissors. You could use pretty much a coin, anything like that that has a flat-ish surface to it that you can easily press down, and it's going to transfer that onto the other side, pretty much making an entire sketch for you. So just go back over the other side and you're good to go. Now here are their measurements. It's paused, it's in centimeters along with also inches. This is going to be up on the screen for a couple more seconds, so please take a screenshot of this, reference this back for the actual blade portion of this cursed tool. Now on to the next part, which is going to be transferring this onto some cardboard. But first, on the back end, flip that over, use either a chalk pastel or oil pastel to go over where you have all of the sketch down. This is going to make it really easy to transfer, and not for nothing, I don't typically print out sheets. I just find this so much easier, more relaxing to do, at least for me, because I just like the whole aspect of crafting everything. This is the thicker piece of cardboard that I use. That's going to be for our centerpiece. Now, if you really want this reinforced, use a piece of wood instead. Now, tape it down. Go and trace over all of those lovely lines there. For the pointed sections, use a ruler. And after you have that traced down, then you're going to peel that piece of paper up, and you'll have your transferred lines there. Now I'm doing this 2 more times on a thinner piece of cardboard. I'm creating a center point with the ruler there, which you can just easily do because of course there's oil pastel underneath it, and it's going to give you all the lines. Then you're going to cut it out. I'm just using a simple blade like this, so an X-Acto knife is usually best for this. Cut away from your hands, keep them out of the way. And after you have both of those thinner pieces cut, which please do take your time and be careful because of course we're using a pretty sharp blade to do this. Then you'll have those 2 pieces. They look a little like that. Then we're going to cut out our thicker piece, which again, you could use wood for reinforcing this even more. I just used cardboard because that's what I had. And because I forgot there was actually a plasticky thing on the back of that, I had to flip it over and find the center point, then cut the pieces. I cut these pieces into 3 different sections. You could see that on the sketch where I had the lines. Then I'm taking all of these pieces, I'm bending it in the center, lining it back up before I go too crazy. And I didn't cut fully and totally through this piece of cardboard. I only made a very small score to go and bend it. I'm also using wood glue to glue these pieces together. Wood glue, cardboard, paper, anything like that. This is what I prefer to use just because it's very, very strong and it holds things in place after it dries. It does take a bit of time for it to dry though, but keep that in mind. There will be some dry time for everything to just fully and totally go into place. Now, after all those pieces are glued, so all 3 of those I lined back up, made sure they were properly bended. Then I had flipped it over, done the same exact thing on the other side after it had dried, and while that was fully drying, I moved on to another piece of cardboard. This piece is pretty thin, and I'm going across all of the different lines there, scoring it, moving it around, rolling it one direction, and then the opposite direction. The opposite direction is going to be the one that we will be gluing down. So all those lines have to be in the inner portion. It's just a lot easier, it's going to look better, and it'll be sturdier as well. Using wood glue in the portion there, the center of that, a very generous amount, of course, rolling it up nice and tight. And I would say this is about 6 inches or so. I did end up cutting it a little smaller. This is going to be for the handle. At the edge, I'm gluing that down, taking a piece of paper to hide the seam there, which you don't even need to do because we will be covering with either you could use some leather, you could use some string, or you could use some paper. It depends on what you want to use. I pressed that down, held it in place, took some toothpicks, stuck that into the blade portion, which was dry. It did take about 2-ish hours for it to fully dry to where I was comfortable to glue everything together, attach the handle, and now those seams where I had cut the different pieces on the blade, I'm just using some paper to cover it up with. If you wanted to blend it more, you could always sand it. I just was like, okay, whatever, I don't really care. Then I went around the edges with some more paper to hide that seam of where everything came together. The paper that I used was some packing paper, along with also a paper shopping bag. Typically, packing paper is a lot easier to use. It's just not as sturdy. Shopping bags are usually more sturdy. Then I made these little circular pieces. You'll kind of figure out what the size of these are as you go along. I think these were about 5-ish inches or so. Attach them together in that specific way where they were partially overlapping and it hid the seams. Slip that through one end, glued another one of those together, and then that piece went onto the top instead of being slipped through. I did use some pins to hold this in place, just some sewing needle pins that have a little plastic guard on the end, which worked really, really well. And I do suggest that you use this or you use maybe some toothpicks or something along those lines. These pins, though, will go through the cardboard pretty easily. I also glued the end here and I used 3 pins to secure it in place, which they did end up sticking through the cardboard, which was fine, because then I wrapped it with some string. I used a little bit of an airbrush paint. I used some black. This stuff I actually got off of Temu. Same thing with also the cutting board that was there. So you can find that in the description. Then I went back and started painting everything. I also did use some spray paint, and I used a mirror-like finish spray paint on the blade. Now, if you want your cardboard to be shiny, you will have to use some sort of either gloss or varnish before you paint it over. You'll have to seal all the different pores on the cardboard. I did not necessarily do that. I just wanted to paint this relatively quickly, make the prop, and kind of go from there. Then I'm adding some of the details. I'm just using a very small amount of white paint along the different raised areas that I had before, letting that dry, using more wood glue, and securing down some of this yarn. This yarn is also going to help to keep the pins in place that were pushing through the cardboard on the handle. I wrapped that all the way up, waited about 3.5, almost 4 hours for everything to fully dry, and there you go. There is Sukuna's cursed tool. If you're seeing the JJK movie this weekend or very soon, let me know. I won't put any spoilers because this is coming out a couple days before it, so I haven't seen it yet. But I will actually be cosplaying as Maki. I won't be cosplaying as Sukuna. All the stuff that I made for Sukuna is actually going to be for my husband. All right, see y'all later. Bye-bye.